Whew, you're in for a good one. Get prepared. Greetings, peace and blessings. Raw authenticity as the darkness takes its throne along with the light. Things are being restored and balanced. As we speak, let me make sure. Oh, my phone is charged. Yep, make sure this audio is good. Like it's gonna be great. Woo! The beauty of truth, the beauty of speaking your own truth, the beauty of that, the beauty of speaking your own truth, the uncomfortability of shattering the illusions within yourself and around you. It doesn't have to make sense to everybody. It doesn't at all. I'm gonna word this. How could I word this? For my truth, just as a man that is darker, no longer. Okay, first of all, let's give honor to source. Let's give honor to the Creator, to the Most High, to make all these things possible. Other than that, yes, I'm gonna jump right into it. Um, Shout out to the ancestors, known and unknown. Man, where do I start? Where do I start? The liberation of just the awareness of the experience of what has transpired emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Um, as I embrace this new version of myself in sales, meaning like I've spoken before on another video, is the pioneering of things that have never been before seen, and the unfamiliar and the uncomfortability that it will create amongst humanity. Even for people who have no idea of what is happening, the energy and the beauty that's unfold, the shadows that's being uh, unveiled before us all with our own self. The world is seeing this reflection. The world is being mirrored back if everything's internally what they're dealing with. So to all of you, no matter where you are, no matter what nationality, no matter what shade of hue that you are, I'm just a messenger to bring forth the awareness on the deeper wounds collectively, individually, for myself, the deeper shadows. This is not a good or bad thing. This is energy that I'm speaking about. These are things that, again, that most people aren't aware that the very seeds that have been sown throughout generations. For instance, if you harvest a seed of hatred, the hatred grows. If you plant, or let me see, if you plant a seed of hatred, that seed grows. If you plant a seed of hatred in your generations, in your lineage, that seed grows no matter what shade or color that you are. You will begin to see the blossoming of that seed in your reality, your world, your corporations, your business, and so forth. Until that energy in itself, when you do go harvest that fruit isn't always going to be appeasing, not just visually, but the appetite, the rotten fruit, or the, I don't know why I'm saying discoloration, but just the impurity of that will eventually be exposed by something that comes that is organic, let's say. Where am I getting at with this? I'm finna go every which way. I'm finna read the energy of the United States, the leaders, the people, humanity collectively to a filth. How about we read ourselves instead of going to get readers? How about we actually sit the fuck down and actually get prepared to be served food that is actually not only nourishing, not only to prosper you, but also to build upon something. And many will reject that which they feel is poison, which I'm speaking, and perceive it as poison, and reject it only to bring much more suffering or probably even more discomfort to not only themselves but those around them. And that's what you see at play. When you see a new order of things coming into play that does not align with what the old world order used to be, and when there is an establishment of a new world order, a new world that our children can live amongst each other beyond the surface and superficiality of their skin, their career, their status, and so forth, how many will actually be open to receive the message? How many will be open as mothers and fathers? How many will question why are they now being suffering or afraid of the consequences or even the fruit that they have so long assumed that they are prospering amongst others when in actuality it's their wounded egos and illusions and confusions within themselves that has created their world. So now that when you look at the generations of elders, of people who can no longer grasp or want to grasp and accept that their generation, their world no longer exists, then you will begin to see as humanity the suffering that has been brought upon yourselves, that you have brought upon your lineages, that you so desperately created communities and corporations and business to keep people out, to keep people from succeeding or successful or to prosper, only to come to the self-realization that your selfishness, your self-righteousness, your ignorance, and when you look at the word ignorance, you're ignoring the truth about your own shit, that you didn't believe that stink, that you chose not to fertilize, that you chose not to weed out the very things that corrupted yourself, your spirit, your being, your family, your lineage, is now ran its course. So now that being said, imagine a world where your children, your generations that come after them, can live amongst each other in harmony and peace, in communities where they don't have, where communities where they actually commune amongst each other and actually have unity in the word community, where they actually can see the you and I, but also see the oneness in what they are desiring, deserving of. But yet, through our unconventional or dysfunctional belief system, we have allowed the powers that ain't or used to be or the old world order things to consume our, almost consume or corrupt our essence. So, as I was speaking to someone earlier, because most of people don't know the perspective that I love to bring people in as a representation of the matrix, as a representation of presently a patriarchal as a man, but also inherently holding the energy or embodying the energy of the matriarchal. So for those of you that are a lighter shade, those of you that are in the country called the USA or in other countries, in particular, I'm pertaining to the energy and the energies that play in the collective of the United States. There is no outrunning the seeds that you have planted. There is no outrunning the harvest you have created. There's no outrunning what you have collectively, joyously, proudly created amongst yourself. A lot of you have sat at tables and not knowing spiritually for so long the very things that were attached to you, the very things that were happening behind the scenes that you so proudly believed, so proudly held tight to the injustice amongst others, only for the justice to be balanced out. Only for you to come and y'all to come to that realization that you never stopped or will ever stop or can control the divine order of things that happen as above, so below, as within, so without. So even that perspective, or even what is unfolding, no one is exempt from universal law. No one is exempt from what it is that they have put out energetically, and it shows up. As I was speaking to someone, I was telling them that from those of you that don't know, having children by a woman that um, is a lighter shade comes with not only emotional repressed emotions, but also unresolved issues, unresolved traumas and memories, and not just individually as I represent the patriarchal and matriarchal of my lineage, and not just as a man, an individual human being, but as a darker man in the country where so many things have unfolded. So when you most people will look outside in and just assume due to whatever belief system, perspective, or idea that they have of darker people. Having children by someone as such, I had to even express that some of you don't realize that whether you have children by darker, lighter, or different shades of people, depending on their lineage, depending on their demographics, depending on their experience, you are interacting, interconnected, or dealing with someone, not just on the surface level, but a spiritual level where energetically, whatever you have or have experienced, whether childhood, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the things that you have experienced as woman and man, and also the underlying energy, the unforeseen things that that lineage has dealt with, you have dealt with, that you come together and create someone, create a whole other human being. And you inherently, what most people don't realize, embody the very energies your mother and father were either experiencing or ancestrally were passed on to them and through them. So that being said, when you look at a said America and the origins and the organic of what the darker man and woman has represented, but also the last few hundred years, how the image of them has been portrayed. So therefore, a lot of you not aware have unconsciously developed a belief system, whether you know it or not, to be a part of something systematically that has groomed you to believe that you are at said advantage, or you are ahead, or even better, or even this imposter syndrome, or just this, is that the word, or no, this cockiness, or this superiority to believe that you have this privilege to create and walk around as if you're so much more than a person just because of their demographics, just because of their experience. I was telling someone when I see a lot of elders, in a country and states, and what has transpired in the last couple hundred years for them to pretend that they unconsciously aren't a part of, using the term, white is an adjective, but using the term white supremacy, or even a part of such hate groups. What I mean by hate groups is to even, I call it, let's say, self-hatred groups. Being part of universities and corporations and business and all levels, to be a part of such unconsciously, because a lot of you don't even know how deep your programming is. But even the awareness around you being of a lighter shade, and even the pretending not to know what is happening or it's unfolding, and so shocked now that your leaders politically, whatever shade they are clearly a manifestation or a reflection of you. And what's so shocking about this, I was expressing to my partner, is that when you are going through said shift with self, and the uncomfortable emotions, memories, things that come up when you are faced with some of your darkest subconscious fears. What if I told you that certain people in positions are literally a reflection of what? Of your subconscious fears. And that being said, I told her, I said, when you see certain demographics, imagine in your mind if that narrative was flipped. Imagine if there were people that look like you in these rural areas or in these hoods. And imagine certain positions that were held of people that look like me. And we treated you, people that look like you, which has happened and most people don't realize. Like, when you're talking about, this is a whole other subject of generations or even lineages and timelines, or things that has happened when it comes to humanity, throughout humanity. Um, because of meaning that there are people of different shades, amongst darker, different shades, who do not care for their own, who do not even care to support their own. Meaning that you have the uppity or higher class, or people who perceive themselves to be much better just because of their money and their status and so forth. Blah 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 blah. But what I'm expressing to her is that, for one, y'all don't realize how much the narrative has shifted. The energy has shifted so rapidly and so fast, to where, what if I told you that the concept of white, because I told you it's an adjective, but anything of a lighter shade is perceived to not only be white, but righteous. Even the image of said religious figures, there's a meaning in it, and there's a subconscious thing, psychic, that plays on the psyche, to even look as someone who is lighter. Even when you look at even how a lot of things throughout, our story, not history, um, how things were manipulated to specifically to be perceived as images that were painted. And even when you're talking about art, the musics and so forth, things that were copied, things that were to attempted to be duplicated, but never organic, never authentic. And I was telling her, imagine these people having a sense of power for whatever duration through manipulation, but also being taught from people who were darker to manipulate their own people that are dark. So let me run that back. Don't you ever think for once that there aren't darker people, which you still see on certain levels when you're talking about, let's say, fraternity or sorority. I'd express to her, like, things that people don't have knowledge of, that they're not in the rim of those things. When you're talking about being a part of certain groups, or masonry, whatever you want to call it, masonry, all this other shit, that groups that feel that they have the secret sauce, that they have something that you don't have. And see, that's another thing that people don't realize. Like, the greatest knowledge of self, the greatest knowledge on earth is knowledge of self mastery. So you have been bamboozled and fooled to believe that a person that throughout their reign of terror, or throughout their reign of manipulation and deception, has made you believe that you have to look or seek toward whether it's a religious figure, a book, or this or that, rather than self. You will always be lost. And I'm not, there is a balance between interacting with people, the human experience. As I expressed in my part, I'm like, the image of you in this country is um to perceive you to do absolutely, you can do no wrong. And I said, you know, in these countries, in the US particular, a lot of people don't want to accept this, but let me tell you something. The scales are balancing things. The energetic, let me tell you something. How the image of even people are lighter shades, Caucasian, whatever you want to use the term as, this, basically the what has been projected to people that are darker, not all, but mostly depending on the demographic, is that I'm gonna use the term white happiness is a priority over darker people's happiness. Or let me say this: white happiness is a priority. It's a priority more than it is a priority over darker people's pain. And I was expressing to her, I said, when I look at your neighborhoods, when I look into these neighborhoods and the programming, how deep, how passive aggressive people don't even know unconsciously that they are. And not all. But even for them to even believe, I said, you're not even a compassionate people. And for her to be like, wow. Because when you are passive aggressive, when you are conflict avoidant, when you don't actually put yourself in the place, and this is polarity here, when you don't actually have compassion, then you will have more passion towards hatred. You will have more passion towards your own self, to just see yourself and people that look like you progress and be more secure. And then you will forget about the origins and the roots of what it has always been, which when you look at the totality and our history or our story and the matriarchal and what it represents, and the scientific aspect of how the mitochondrial gene and how a darker woman can create different shades. Again, there are human experiences, and people experience things differently because of their different shades. But the awareness around the origins of this country and everywhere else being of a darker shade. There are different shades of people, but the origins of that specifically, to where what you see at play, as I expressed to her, me patriarchally, you won't know the depths of the pain or the experience or even the vices when it comes to said a darker man from a lens of a woman in this country, what you have experienced through as a Caucasian or a lighter skinned woman. Meaning that what people don't want to grasp or they're afraid to realize is that we've been looking to someone to give us said solution, and we don't even realize that behind those very people who were, there are people behind them orchestrating what you see now. And if you think, for one, that when you hear the terms enslavement or captivity, that there wasn't leaders or people or whom, whatever it was, darker people who had a hand in that, then let me tell you, you are sadly mistaken, because it's still happening now. It's still happening now. When you have the division of groups who just want to see a certain, that of a fraternity, that of a certain group, or that of a certain society, secret society, want to see certain people progress, so that a certain people or certain demographics, when you close them all in, when collectively, knowingly that you're going to naturally, as empathetic people, empaths, spiritual people by nature, pick up on the energy, never truly finding a solution. And this is what you call empowerment. And there's no difference in seeing trailer parks with people that are lighter shade. When you put them in a position when they have to survive, survival mentality or captivity is in the mind. So don't ever think for once that you're the only one going through certain things. As a child, I when this how deep things go. When you are a child and what you're soaking up, I don't blame people for their progress or what their accomplishments and what they obtain. But what you don't realize, a lot of you aren't aware of, is that the demographics are things that you did grow up in. You were only given a certain narrative specifically only for you to be here now. Only for you to come to the realization how much you also have been lied to. How much you also have been lied to. Like I was telling my partner, I said it amazes me how when you do look at, the unaliving rate, the suicidal rate of people, you would think that how darker people are portrayed, that they will have the highest count. But that's not true. It's of lighter Caucasian men. And I asked myself, how is it so? How is it that you have all these things, but yet you hate yourselves? You are so unhappy with yourselves. Your reign of terror that you portray to the world as a reign of enlightenment or false empowerment. But deep down in your inner worlds, you are unhappy. You are not progressing knowledgeably through the bigger picture in humanity. Every Since the dawning of age, everyone has lived amongst each other in different shades. What sense would it make if the origins of itself was never all really all dark? You're seeing the same shit of different shades always have been. It's the false narrative of the wounded masculinity that has been portrayed through this patriarchal, that has now, the old narrative of the old world has been dismantled. Only funny that it is that only for the origins, meaning that the original man, to come along and give you something that most of you will reject due to your old world narratives that you want to hold on to, your religious beliefs, your own internal beliefs around your own hatred for self and others. It's why you drive yourself to even create so passionately towards unaliving each other for some of the most stupidest shit. Not wanting seeing each other progress or live amongst each other. And you call yourself leaders or even enlightened ones or even chosen, whatever the term you want to use. You call yourself men and women of power when kids know how to live amongst each other better than you do. They are the closest and most connected things to source. Where you have to literally use people that, or try to use people of darker shades to infiltrate said men and women who were sent here to bring forth something which has always been to balance the scales or to balance the energy from the impurity to see for things to be balanced out more righteous. So for a lot of you, I get it. Your programming is so deep. Some of you won't even evolve past your own programming and belief systems internally. And truthfully, you will leave this world with that, transitioning. Because as things elevate and the frequency and the awareness of things change, that's cool. It's all a part of divine order, and nothing you can do about it. As I sit back and I see how the illusion of things, just because a neighborhood is so well put together, the the underlining or the inner lining, or even just the energy of the there being no depths to a lot of people, because most of what they have put together and created is so surface that there's no depth spiritually to them. There is no wisdom, so they only can give you what it is they know or learn from someone else. let, let me give you let me some of these leaders are people that you don't see the hidden hand. Let me give them feed them this poison so that they can reign for a period of time, the end of times, so they can rule or portray themselves as such, only for not only that shit to backfire, but backfire on the very people who showed them that. What am I saying? Again, the hidden hand of people who you don't see, who you will probably eventually, they're falling from grace, and those who are aware will be able to see. Those who place certain people upon this their pedestal due to their manipulative, deceptive, it's almost like Transformers, Decepticons, and I forgot the other ones. Um, those very things as such. And so as I sit back and watch and I become more aware of actually what's playing out here, I'm like, whoa, wow. I'm not even shocked. It's just the fact of how, when I see, even in certain neighborhoods, when I look at the sisterhood that women have built even in their communities, of the false empowerment that they believe they have, because they want to keep a woman that either don't look like them, that don't have the same money, that their husband is not a part of the same group or corporation. You built this. You planted these seeds for years, only for it to backfire on you. Backfire on you for you to see you. Do y'all not realize all of this is unfolding for humanity to reflect back the very things that they have created? Your leaders are a reflection of you. This is where the accountability doesn't come in. Whether it's in the darker communities, where you have the most pastors in the most churches, no different than when you see it in the lighter shade communities, where you have all these different districts, communities, cities, all these things that have been created. But when I've expressed to you that, of course, my perspective isn't supposed to be like yours, your demographic wasn't like mine, I'm able to bring awareness to the fact of how much and how fucked up internally we have been given miscommunication, the confusion around what it even is to be ourselves. With that, you have been fooled and bought into the narrative of, like, why would I expect a man that don't look like me in this country to even accept the belief systems of my ancestors, when not all but most of their ancestry or their lineage, or for some, depending on their demographics, or even in the last couple hundred years, has literally been focused on upholding a man that looks like him rather than me. So before he's really going to be supportive or even acknowledge my not even said existence or even see value in me, I have to ask myself, what belief system, what has he been exposed to? even outside of what he has learned religiously or even inherited emotionally, spiritually, physically through his lineage, what is keeping him from valuing me? And even if his belief system is the same, what is that friction not allowing us to even live amongst each other? So what am I saying is that, as I told my partner, I'm not surprised at all that when we're as darker people or even people, certain demographics, I'll speak for myself, why do I need the approval of anyone who's already convinced or misunderstanding? They already have a misunderstanding of themselves or even a misunderstanding of who I am. And then with that, their insecurities, their own emotional instability. You're talking about trying to coexist or even live amongst men in a country who has throughout the last couple hundred years have placed themselves in such a false empowering way that they have also brought in not only a belief system that tries to uphold the image of a man that looks like them, but also devalues their own women and devalues the whole matriarchal, and also the misconception of even what they're here to do, and even the fact of ignoring the healing and the karma that comes with what they're doing and have done. So when I say the solutions aren't, it's almost like the problems that they created, they can only find their solutions. And what's going to end up happening is that the essence that they're seeking, they're going to find the solutions also through the very people and the very things that they have convinced themselves that were the problem. Did you catch that shit? If I believe that people that didn't look like me were so much of the problem that I haven't progressed, meaning that why would I have this image of a man who I'm supposed to look towards as a savior, who hasn't saved me from anything, rather than looking towards something within myself that reflects something that looks like me? That's like for a child. Why wouldn't, even if a certain figure look like them? That's how powerful imagination is. Rather than looking for or trying to find outside of myself, which I've learned through a belief system that was never organically, originally mine, or even a part of my ancestry. So now I realize the fear isn't just in men that are lighter, the fear is also in the ones who you do not see. Because no longer can their their illusion or spells or things can be go on much longer. It's also realizing that the ripple effect I have, the power that I have within myself to affect those around me of all shades. What am I getting at again? To whom is given, much is required. Meaning that no matter your shade, no matter your belief system, we all were given said spiritual gifts, power, whatever it is. You were given that. To whom is given, much is required. There's a responsibility. And everyone here, no matter who you are, when you were given those, even through your trauma, even through your experience, even through your lessons, you were given the responsibility to self. But what the illusion, the greatest illusion of separation that has been shattered, is that you've been given, there were men, there were women behind those men spiritually who were given the responsibility and required to either be supportive of the evolution of humanity or the de-evolution or the devolve that's a word, de-evolvement of humanity. And this is your Star Wars. This is your polarity playing out. This is the very things that have you thinking that it's about color. Again, some people are here on a mission to either evolve humanity or de-evolve humanity. And that can happen in every shade. So again, the power of things. Everyone has given a power. And right now, some of you have already chosen your side. And the thing about yin and yang and dark and light, there is no side. See, that's the thing, another misconception. Is that the illusion of division or separation wants you to think that you have to choose a side. When you side with one thing, when you look at polarity, negative and positive, so you're either choosing a negative side, which has not to do with bad, you're just choosing to stay in a negative perception or perspective of things without seeing the positive of things. Meaning that, for one, when I look at my demographics, negatively speaking, some people can perceive negative as like, oh man, look at what I've been through, look at what I've been through. No, when you put two negatives together, you make a positive. So with that being said, if I don't see that in that present moment or look at my set circumstances to what I have been given, what I have been ordained, what I have the responsibility to see, whether that's facing myself, the people, and the environment, if I'm not able to become aware, which the religions and the constructs that you have seen in the last couple 100 years or whatever, eons or whatever, the misconception of how the removal of even the matriarchal and how women now are regaining and reclaiming their power has a lot to do with what is being balanced out. So with that, this is where the abandonment is rooted in. Again, when you see things negatively and positively, energetically speaking, when you look at a negative and positive post, what is it a representation of? Dark and light. So again, the negative is the feminine principles. The positive is the masculine principles. So that which you're seeing play out is a representation of, when you look at the mother in itself, the matriarchal, she naturally represents that negative. But the man or people have the powers that ain't or used to be wants to give you to think that that's a bad thing, when organically it's one of the greatest things to learn from, because we all possess that feminine principle. So what you see a representation of in your reality, your world, in humanity right now, is that of the unhealed, unresolved memories and emotions around what the feminine represented, not organically represents. So with that, the things that are being restored, when I've spoken about the fact of how you karmically are going through things, going through lessons, and in that you are choosing to either stay in more of the negative aspect or balance it out positively. So you can look at your life as countering your thoughts, where something happens, but then you counter yourself and be like, you know what? There's a problem. Look at the problem as a negative thing. But it's not a bad thing. It's just a representation of what other people don't see. There's a problem here in the darkness, things that people don't see. So the positive aspect to that is what I have to not only internally change, but also what I have to assert. So when you see what is at play right now, when it's funny how I'm seeing a police car or stuff like that, what the patriarchal is also mirroring back right now, present day, and both matriarchal, the patriarchal is only reflecting back to what is playing out energetically, collectively, of what we have enabled, not only as men, but also as women. You women have enabled the very thing that you try to protect so much. Meaning that if you have a neighborhood that are policing, you have a neighborhood that's only policing and the said resources are to this area specifically, how is that supportive of humanity in its entirety, or even of people that are darker shade? So when you're saying, oh, there's so many problems there, there's so many problems there, there's so many problems there, okay, what's the solution? How have, when you look at masculinity or the assertion of things, when you're talking about going into places where the energy that asserted there has been things that are unrighteous, why are you surprised at the people as if women that are darker, predominantly in those demographics, have been treated righteously? Have they, like they've been nurtured and embraced, not only by the people that look like them, but people that don't look like them. So as much as people don't think that what you've been putting out karmically is not, it's literally right here. I'm just a messenger. I'm just a warning. And the pride comes before the fall. And that's what you've been warned about when it comes. Even your leaders are in position to tell you this shit. But y'all, due to the fact of how the illusion and spells y'all been under to look so much at color rather than the energy, rather than how much, you know, this is much of a spiritual warfare, where it's so funny to where I'm like, yo, this is the awareness. So imagine all the resources that have been in one place, now that shit flips. And I've been telling y'all this. The last shall be first. This is why you're going to see certain things where, let's say, the banking system was more supporting of people that don't look like me, crash, crumble, because again, the seeds that y'all planted, only for that to be supported in a certain way, only for the hands that you don't see to make sure that that was orchestrated that way, again, only for it to backfire. Again, the reason why I say it's not a lot of your faults, but again, a lot of you aren't compassionate people because your ancestors weren't compassionate. It hasn't always been like that, but when I look at people, when I sit back and even look at the positioning of certain women, where you're asking women of lighter shades that are Caucasian, right, that I've seen this happen, I have to see it, to see, you're asking them to find solutions for women that are darker when they have no experience. They don't even know the depths. And then some of their families, not all, some of their families are coming from people who have self-hatred amongst, for those darker people. So you're literally, they take pride in embodying that position just to prey on the woundings of those women in that corporation. Same thing with when they go home to the very men who are signing over those very documents and so many things and so forth that upholds what people love, you know, people say the white supremacy aspect, only to protect y'all, to protect you. And the truth is that there's nothing that hasn't happened here physically that hasn't been ordained spiritually. So now when that shit balance out, you're literally seeing the unfold negative aspect of energetically and seeing it play out spiritually. I mean, seeing it play out physically. So why are you surprised that the shit that y'all have created is crumbling? And this is of all shades. Why are you surprised? Where y'all have upholded positions to only keep women that look like you progressing and having resources, and for you to overlook the fact of the origins of the women that have always kept this shit together, have always been the glue. And I mean of darker women, the origins of these countries, the origin of this country, how passive aggressive is that? And for you to still go on and pretending as if you don't see what's going on, to whom is given, much is required. So a lot of your karma is to fucking speak up in your medical corporations, in your businesses, in whatever it is. That's your karma. and to clear it. And that's on you. But the more you're passive aggressive and go home as if you don't see what's happening, drive through those communities because your greatest subconscious fear is also for those darker women to do to you what has been done to them. There's no difference in some of the men in position. Their greatest fear is for me to get in said position, to do to them what has been done to me. And that's of all shades. But when we're talking about a country who knowingly have been in positions, who sign over the things when it comes to the prison systems, who signs over things, who, again, who have done these things, and you're actually believing that this is how shit is supposed to be. A lot of us are going to leave places specifically. And when we are departing, because I don't think a lot of people realize that how powerful you are spiritually. Every time you go and move and shift and go somewhere, so does your protection spiritually. As you progress and choose to evolve, so not only you evolving, but your lineage. And that's for all shades of people on a deeper spiritual and soul level. Evolving past the illusions that has been given to you. Standing firm in not just being in this body as a darker man, but realizing that as evolving, that means a belief system that I'm creating and standing firm in, that the world isn't going to be easily accepted of, even if they care to accept it at all. Meaning that they're not even here to evolve. Do you hear what I'm saying? Some of your leaders, some of the people, they are going to leave this world in the energy. Some of these elders that I see, they like literally they are on their last leg. Y'all don't realize how much these structures that have been in place that have upheld so much racism, self-hatred, and so forth to keep you all looping through, not cycling. I'm talking about a loop through the same mental captivity, mental suffering, emotionally, spiritually, and so forth. And you're asking of me to be supportive? How much I have given my energy as a darker man from people who are not even appreciative and respectfully of even just my presence, from when I knowingly know what has happened here in the last hundreds and years, eons, and it's asked of me uncomfortably, through blood, sweat, tears that my ancestors had to go through, and even through the emotions, where not all ancestors had the courage. Some of them fucking sat back and sat their ass down and didn't care to change or evolve. That's no difference in people of different shades. Some of your people, as you are learning to accept that you are the black sheep, I'm gonna use that term, is that a lot of your families are not here to fucking evolve. A lot of you are here to pioneer and do something for the very first time, or create something that has never been seen before. Never. Meaning moving away, moving to a country, creating your own community, create your own belief systems amongst people where you know you're deserving to live in harmony, no matter their shade. It's a resonance of, what you are aligned with internally. To even expect these systems that have been in place that are crumbling, how divinely guided and protected I am, even with the fact of not getting so consumed by why am I shocked that they're not supporting me or what I'm doing. Well, for one, it was never intended that fucking way. So why should I be shocked that I'm not getting the support right now from people who their programming is so deep? How dare they do that? How dare they support me? How dare they support someone who stands in their truth and be authentic and not conform to a certain religious belief or a certain construct or a certain way of being, a certain, image, as a darker man, to be crucified and put out there to be sexualized and dehumanized and devalued. How dare you not conform to that? How dare you, motherfucker? How dare you? Huh. How dare you protect your inner child? How dare you take back your energy? That's what you're doing as you're navigating, and the divine is showing you through these experiences. I want you to see what's actually happening here. I want you to see why that, as I was telling my partner, you're talking about in a country in the last couple few hundred years where your fucking people that looks like you, not all, because I know people who have different experiences, but most of what the image in the collective is, you got to rest. You got to create monetary systems that supported you. You got to create your constructs, your universities, your systems in play to support you, the image of you, and to devalue the women that don't look like you. So I be telling people, what the fuck you think your karma is? If you're going to evolve past what your family, what they have supported, you are here to evolve and maybe connect with a darker man just so you can see the unresolved issues in your lineage dealing with people who look like you on a deeper level, on a soul level. So how could that evolution look like? Let me, the divine, take you through experiences where let me align you with darker men. Let me align you with experiences where you are seeing the issues at hand firsthand of what the women, how they aren't supported like you. How are, the darker men, how they have not been respected and valued, how they have been seen in an image, in a way that is devaluing and dehumanizing, how they have been treated by people that look like you collectively in this country. And what do you think your karma is, your lesson is? If you want to evolve and heal that which is within you, what has come with that to this very place so that you can actually speak your truth and shatter the illusion of the women that look like you? The freedom riders, who are there, women that look like you at a time where they supported men that look like me, fearlessly knowing the consequences of women that don't look like you. I mean, men that are Caucasian or whatever, lighter skin that look like you, who will actually crucify, attack you because they wanted to uphold an image and identity around self-hatred amongst themselves and of darker people. So for a lot of you, your lessons and your connection to that person, some of y'all don't even know the deep spiritual fucking meaning in the contract that you are here to do, to just not only to evolve your lineage, but to evolve past the fact of the reward on the other side of things, the reward in itself of finding peace in your lineage, the reward in even realizing that, as I've said, as I tell people, I'm just a messenger. I here to plant seeds. You don't gotta believe shit, but most people don't want their illusions shattered. How dare you come along and tell me that what I believe in doesn't hold integrity? How dare you come along and tell me that all these things in the past couple hundred years that my generation has built is not prospering, it's not progressing? Well, let me tell you, when you look at this country, you don't acknowledge, first of all, the origins and the pain of what has been experienced here, the origins of the spirituality, the origins of the authenticity, the origins of not only the women and the men. When you don't acknowledge that in your history, when you don't acknowledge that and choose to evolve past that, you can research and see how this country, the energy of this country has not progressed. And now the karma, when you look at your housing systems, when you look at the constructs the shit that's caving in, when you look at your judicial systems, when you look at things systematically, globally, that's falling in, it's caving in on itself, how? How are you surprised that what was taught and given to them was not created on sand? A lot of you don't even realize a lot of your ancestors were bamboozled, no matter your shade and nationality. They were bamboozled. They were manipulated by the powers that ain't or used to be. And a lot of us here are observers to be solutionists, solutionaries to y'all bullshit. We sit back and laugh and realize, like, outside of the shade, outside of the certain demographics, outside of even you giving off this illusion that you're progressing, and we can see the deep issues beneath your tissues if you take the T off. No matter your nationality and shade. Some of us are here to actually see with a spiritual eye, with the awareness of, like, wow. And you have to sit back as in a perspective or a mindset of like a father or a mother and be like, wow, you just gotta let them bump their head. You gotta let them go through this. And this is what's happening. So as a lot of us navigate and being called as the anointed and people, chosen, as they choose, a more righteous way of things, they will be guided, protected divinely, as things have to fall in on themselves for the sake of their protection and the protection of their lineage. So you cannot force people to see what you see. But what I will say this, like I told my partner, not only is no one exempt for universal law, and they reap what they sow, no one cannot say that they did not receive the message. Now, other than children who naturally have this connection to source, naturally have this knowing what they're here to do, a lot of you already know. You already know. And a lot of you in this shit right now, when you're choosing to stay here and do this, you're choosing not only the fate for you, because fate and destiny is not the same. Some of you are choosing your fate rather than walking into your destiny. And you're self-sabotaging yourself, thinking that, and some of you, the grace does come in because some of you have no awareness. Some of you didn't realize. Some of you do have amnesia and only here to remember. But it takes a lot of courage to even realize that. It may have took you 30, 40, 50, 60 years to realize that, maybe I don't want my children to be a part of that school system or these systems or this business or that career, certain things that boom, a light bulb comes on. Because you know what has happened, the energy that it carries. Y'all don't realize the energy that this fucking country and the leaders and all these people have carried for so long. Even they too have karma to clear. Even they too have a responsibility. To whom is given, much is required of them. So as much is required of them. It's just what it is. To everyone. I wasn't given this to keep it to myself. I was told that you are too quiet. And there's no fear in transition, or what they call, unaliving in this physical form. Because when you see things spiritually, you realize that there's beauty in the other side of things. So you embrace it, you celebrate it. But when you have things that have been in place in the old world, it will have you wanting to hold on tight to something that eventually you have to let go of. Your career, your belongings, your kids, your life, everything. And everyone isn't alive, they're not living. Everyone's purpose isn't to evolve. So again, as I expressed to my partner, my lens, my patriarchal lens as a man here, that knowing what I know, what my ancestors went through, and then knowing the root of that, most of you, the only thing that you're missing, the piece, is that finding the root of where and why your behavior pattern, your belief system, and everything that's going to come out because of your uncomfortability or not wanting to really embrace and accept the fact of why it is that you act the way you do, why it is that certain things are tolerable and certain things aren't accepted. So I express to people, listen, I know exactly what I'm here to do, and it's beautiful because as the more I speak what it is I'm doing, the more I'm divinely protected in what I'm here to do. So just remember that a lot of us are regaining the restoration. The warning has already the trumpet, the individual, the trumpet has already been sound. And the very thing that has been created and built, certain messages, certain things have to be implemented before the chaos is spewed or that certain things are dismantled. As the wind blows, the messages is in the wind or the change of the wind. You know, our ancestors were connected to nature for a reason. The weather are signs. Everything is a sign. And no one has to believe. It's not about saving anyone. It's about simply knowing that the shift has already been shifting. It's like you shift gears. And shit, let me tell you something. It went from 1, 2, 3. Is there a fifth gear? Let me tell you something. Things is like this. And the beauty of it all is that you have the opportunity to evolve. No one's going to do it for you. That's the beauty of the mission of all of us. You, no matter your skin color, your shade, or whatever, you have the opportunity to evolve past racism. You know, for me as a darker man, I had the opportunity to evolve past self-hatred, mental warfare, spiritual warfare that was in my lineage. I told my partner, I said, you have an opportunity to evolve knowing that your family or people or even this country, the energy that it has held within the last couple years, hundreds of years, you knowing your experience and knowing that how passive aggressive your lineage has been or people have been. And so with that, most people don't realize as an interracial couple or, you know, partnership or whatever you want to see it as, there is energy there to unify. And that's the thing that most people are afraid of. That's the beauty in speaking up and being honest, because a lot of you, when you do connect with certain people on a deeper level, you don't know why. It's because some of them, no matter your relationship or whatever it is, they had the opportunity to evolve. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying? Everyone has an opportunity to evolve. Kids do it naturally. Kids do it naturally all the time. It's not until they develop a belief system. All of those things that people don't want to accept and believe, and you see it every day happening. When you hear about this, whether on your news or the manipulation of that, or you hear it about this and that, listen, those are signs that's letting you know. Or even your intuition. As things progress, as things expand, as we become more in tune with ourselves, your intuition, your gifts will heighten more and more. You won't be surprised why you ended up there. You won't be surprised. You will realize like how aligned shit is. Why am I here? Why am I there? Oh, okay. Yeah. So then you step out of your own way and then you let your higher self or, you know, returning to your essence. If you're inner child, you be like, you know what? This is naturally just unfolding as it should. So, as I told her, my perspective, realizing, knowing what has happened in my lineage, you know, speaking about even what a great grandfather that I never got to witness or see because of, you know, people that look like her, you know, unalive my grandfather simply because of what? Hatred. So you're talking about in that energy of around the 50s, you know, 60s and stuff like that, where this energy has, again, passed through lineage, where you see now where humanity is evolving. People are evolving. People are realizing, like, you know what? The past is a past. That doesn't mean I have to forget, but it's the acceptance of how do I want my life to be, and who reflects that, who's like-minded. You know, we can't change shit, and a lot of people will be upset with, well, this has happened, this has happened. Listen, I can't make y'all see that shit is evolving. You either are going to evolve past that mindset or be held captive in there and leave this world in that shit. That's it. You either want to still uphold self-hatred, racism, or believing that the world isn't changing. And you can see day to day where I'm looking at even the communities of people that don't look like me. I'm like, bro, wow. I can see the energy of passive aggressiveness. I can see the energy of avoidance. So much so that it's almost like a mental illness to even believe that things are even okay. When you see certain figures and certain characters in certain places who are letting you know, who are displaying the behaviors that y'all internalize, this is why there's so much emotion. This is why there's so much being purged, because you cannot hide it. No one can hide it no more. No one can hide from the fact of, like, this is what you as America, as people, as humanity, certain demographics or whatever it is, this is what you have sown. So why the fuck are you surprised what you are reaping right now? So how do you evolve? Maybe plant seeds of authenticity and integrity. Maybe start telling the truth of, you know, what your family was a part of. You telling your kids, you know, or being honest for a fucking change. And that goes for all of you. That's the reason why I'm not ashamed or hold guilt. A lot of y'all grandmothers and great grandmothers, boy, they have a lot of shame and guilt around what they did. That's why they display the anger they did. Because they were put in positions. Like I told my partner, I said, listen, you talking about a people demographically. My grandmother, my great grandmothers, and all of them, the life they live, they're so tired. And guess who inherited that? They haven't rest. You're talking about people in this country, what we have been through. We haven't been able to rest, not only physically, but spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. So now I call out to y'all, I command y'all, as you call back your energy, as you realize that the healing is more vital, and prioritizing your ancestry, you're learning about the wounds and the shadows of yourself, realizing that you are here to get some fucking rest, bruh. This is exactly what I know I'm being guided to. I am already on the resort in my mind's eye, and it's in the physical. I am already relaxing. It is already laid out for me. Everything. No matter what no one believes. Because a lot of you, as you evolve, you will realize why and how much your ancestors, whomever you are, different shades, especially, you know, I was telling her of darker people, when you look at the communities and stuff that y'all have built for specifically for y'all to have said resources and to rest, you don't think that karma mentally, to think that that's not going to be a spiritual uproar of the ancestors that have built certain things. You think there's going to be a continuance of, you know, being restful? No, there's going to be restlessness. For we don't battle with flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high and low places. Don't ever think that you can outrun what has spiritually has happened in this realm on this earth. And that goes for everybody. A lot of you know specifically. And that goes for even the hidden hand or the darker people in leadership. Yeah, you too, knowing exactly what you did and how you done it. And listen, you can't say that you were no one is exempt. Like I said, it's amazing how I'm being told to rest more because I'm giving that to myself. It's something that the patriarchal, the men in my family wasn't able to even to even have an opportunity to do. That's how deep it is. When you are stepping up, when you are stepping out, but not forgetting about yourself, when you're realizing that what you're doing is going to have a ripple effect on so many. I can't even explain the number. That's the beauty of the energy. For some of you, this message is the same for you. When you are literally going to align with people and to build things and create certain things where not only where you'll be able to rest, but you'll be able in that trying to become the rest. Because I'm not finna skip over shit. In that getting to this place, I've had to wrestle with myself. I had to face the unresolved emotions and feelings and memories around why I wanted to hate myself, why I wanted to hate my image, why I wanted to um um hate people that did not look like me. All those things. To find peace within that. To find even in that solitude where I realized was some of the people in my family or lineage did not have the opportunity. Even when they tried to, they were infiltrated or certain things where um, they didn't have the mental capacity or, they gave up. This is why you see suicidal rate or certain things because a lot of people, they don't have the tools. They had the tools, but they have been so consumed by what it is. The entities, the spiritual warfare, they're being so consumed by that shit. And that's what you're going to see. When it comes to the fact of the magic that has been taking place, the shit that has taken place, this is for the spiritual community, the shit that has taken place amongst people, and the things that are being reversed and backfiring, you will see it play out in people who intended it for you and your lineage, and even the ones that that are created. You will see it play out through them. And through the grace that the Most High has given us, you will even have grace for them. But they will fade out of your reality because you have to see it only to realize like what they were a part of. And even through their spiritual warfare, they have the opportunity not only to be authentic, but to acknowledge, to even speak their truth, to even create something different from that. That's what the beauty of spiritual warfare is. Y'all keep thinking that it's obtaining this illusion of material shit. It's more than that. Some of you are in your navigating the emotions and spiritual warfare devices and shit. You're wanting someone else's life when you don't know what the fuck they lineage have going on. You don't even know you built for that shit. Y'all don't even know why when you talk about oppressor and all this other shit. Let me tell you something. There are darker people who also oppress their own fucking people. And through that oppression, they suppress, repress actually those memories of their own people, putting them in captivity or even doing fucking spell work or magic on them. That still happens to this day, but due to the fact of the power in the that is returning, the divine mother and father returning, that wounded energy or that false empowerment of what the mother and father represented is no more, because that's your old world order. So through that, as I told my partner, I was like, listen, if you, a part of what a lot of you don't realize is that you are here to be a part of things what your family would have never done. If you are of a lot of shades, some of you, your, not even consequences, some of your karma for you to evolve and live amongst darker people is to actually sit face to face and be involved and see the actual problems, not be passive aggressive. No, to actually sit and listen to that shit and to actually develop a compassion again from a country and leaders who never had compassion in the fucking first place. So a lot of your constructs and a lot of your corporations that are crumbling, it wasn't to have compassion for people or the mothers or even the fucking children. Because a lot of you don't even know what it is to be connected to your inner child. A lot of you don't. So guess what? You think that your child is more valuable because of their skin color. Some of you have this program. You think you're more privileged because of your skin color. You think you're more privileged because of the school and the fraternities and sororities that you're a part of. Baby girl, baby boy, mother and father, whomever the fuck you is, that belief system, sadly but surely, you inherited through your grandmother and great grandparents and so forth. That's what y'all want to continue to ignore. And with that, there are consequences. There is on the other side of what you're sowing, there is a reaping of that harvest, and that harvest How are you surprised with that fruit that you have proudly believed that has prospered your lineage or been prosperous so much in the world? And you realize you've been going nowhere. Nowhere. Because your evolution or your belief system is just simply for people that look like you. And it's no difference in people that are lighter shade and darker shade. The people that are darker shade, y'all swearing down that before this so-called reign of terror through people who y'all, of lighter shade, listen, a lot of you don't even know about the hidden dark hand or black hand or people who had a part in that as well. Do your fucking research. Learn your shit. Some of your ancestors had to do what they had to do just to protect y'all ass. Some of them had to lie and manipulate. Let's be real. A lot of things is a part of divine order. It's what it was. But don't ever forget that there wasn't magic done on your ass too. This is why the spells are broken. So that humanity can rise. You have to see the negative, as I told y'all, the dark aspect, the darkness, that the world has been keeping y'all so much in this positive physical shit, this physical plane. Focus more on the physical, that you have neglected the spiritual part of yourself. Of people of different shades too. You have melanin, or you have spiritual in you. When you're having interracial and you're sleeping with people that are darker, also you're tapping into their ancestry too. Yeah. Those artifacts in the museums, a lot of that shit that has happened, all of that shit has energy of people ancestry that are darker. Yeah. Yeah. The veil is thin. The veil has already been lifted. Shit, the veil is already the veil. Okay? So again, it's your choice. It's your opportunity. I'm not here to be accepted from how the world in itself, the humanity, shit, I can expect. It really don't bother me because I look at the hate, which is internalized, as an aspect of the negative, only to transmute it into positivity, which is the positive aspect of honesty and truth or authenticity, which still comes from the inside, which again is just transmuted. You're dealing with dark and light being transmuted and alchemized. So right now, as you evolve, you're only alchemizing what the fuck, from the bullshit that we believe we've been under. We ain't been under shit, because I ain't under nothing. 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 So, again, for some of you, as you progress and move forward and transgress, transmute, whatever, and alchemize, why are you surprised? A lot of you, why are you surprised? I don't care what nationality, religious belief you have. Listen, there's an expectancy for you to dare to be fucking disliked, hated, because a lot of you are aligning to just create what? Your own shit. And the tide has been shifted. The table has been turned. The ancestors don't flip the table. Motherfuckers, no matter what they look like, their shade, they have flipped them fucking tables. Flip the tables and reveal who's been doing this underhand, who's been paying who behind the scenes, who's been keeping who. Man, the tide has shifted. I don't care who it is, their status, their status, on all levels. I don't care what sports, I don't care what it is, all that shit is the same. They all too came here to evolve too. Yep. A lot of them was literally anointed or selected to be in specific areas, and to whom is given, much is required. The Most High, the Creator, gave them the fucking talents and gifts spiritually and so forth. And some of them have already chose their fate. Just let you know, color don't make you kin. So a lot of them were in positions to whom is given, due to the fact that their subconscious fears, or their fears of not having or obtaining shit materialistically, or being in said positions, living in the hills, doing all this other shit, having access to this, and only they had more access to is more shit that was only going to eventually they won't have to alchemize or transmute spiritually. They were just being more connected to lower level shit, entities and so forth. Those that know, only for the light to be revealed to be like, bruh, or sister, that wasn't it over there. Only to realize that in their illusion of being first, just to find out they were last, only to become last. What's done in the dark always comes to the light. So when you look at the first shall be last and the last shall be first, the first is that positive aspect I've been telling y'all about. The first is the people that y'all have upheld in a physical plane on this earth as if they're so high in honor. And the last has always been the people who are powerful in spirit. So when I say the last shall be first, that's what's being balanced out. It's not to say people, even in those places, they have spiritual gifts. Don't ever think in the music industry, whatever it is, they too have gifts. And those with eyes see. We're able to see who's been a part of what, who's been closing doors to what, who are gatekeepers, who are way makers. And I've been telling you women, y'all are way makers. Y'all are the portal. And that's what's being exposed also. For a lot of them in the spiritual community who represent as this, who represent as this, who represent as that, and not a lot of this, just to keep other women from progressing, just to be using their gifts, their magic, to keep women bind and manipulating them to believe that even them too, behind, I told you, them first ladies, them women that behind those pastors, who want to get close to those women in the church environment, who want to get closer to people, whether they're doing mission work, who want to get close to those women who are a part of said industries, careers. I'm talking to you artists, all of you. There are women, there are things behind the scenes that literally have been focusing on your life since you were young, because they know the anointing you have. Shit, I even know a lot of people don't. The more awareness you realize, you've always had an anointing. Is that those certain people were assigned on your path to either keep you in the dark, to have you sign this contract, to have you a part of this corporation, this shit, to keep your light from being brighter, to affect the masses, to affect the people, to have profound effect on all people. And you too have the opportunity to evolve. Because some of you, yeah, we all have dark and light, but some of you also, I know who you are, who try to portray yourself as such, but you still try to manipulate the masses, and it has come to a halt. You have the opportunity. A lot of you have gifts to speak. You're singing voices, and a lot of your judgment is going to be the fact of what you could have used to actually empower the youth, but instead you manipulate them. It will be stripped from you. Let's just say the mermaid in a sense. Notice all things that you feel like that were stolen, and also almost like harvest from the people that were perceived as the last spiritually. Everything shall be replaced and restored tenfold. That's what's happening. That is what's happening. That's why you would see a lot of people, whether you want to call them celebrities, they ain't no fucking celebrity. They ain't of high honor in the spiritual realm. They ain't of high honor in the ethos. You will see them slowly digress, slowly dissolve, slowly make their way backstage because their script is fucking up. The script is up, bro. Again, a lot of you, even through your unconsciousness or awareness, that your subconscious fears is playing. For you, a lot of people's greatest fears is for that very person in that little small neighborhood, that artist or that person with that gift to be even noticed. And a lot of them people, I'm gonna tell y'all, whether it's small time people, whatever y'all want to call it, it ain't nothing small about it. You're still valuable. There are artists, there are people in the industry that also have been watching you. A lot of you praying on you, hoping that you come and not be discerning. And that's kind of a two-way street in a way of life. You had those who did get into that place where they signed things and they're part of their coming into who they are. I don't like to use the term awakening, but just come into the rising of who they are. They had to find out about the industry. They had to find out about this. That's why I don't throw my stone. That's why I don't judge a lot of those people who are going through said situation. You just seeing their karma play out. You just seeing the lessons play out. No difference than the people that try to protect this person and involve themselves in shit and celebrate their downfall is no different than you trying to protect the same person that you knew that, you know, sexually molested people that you knew. Same thing that you protected even in this other person. So what outweighs the other? Same thing that go for them artists, the women in there. Yeah, a lot of them went through stuff. Again, they knew stuff other women went through too. They didn't tell it. That ain't the I ain't gonna name the celebrity, but y'all know where I'm getting it. That ain't the first man that did that. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of women too. Don't be surprised. This is the negative, the darkness that has to be revealed so that the healing can take place amongst all people. So when y'all be thinking that you're no different than whether you in this community and you're looking at a celebrity on there, that is all a facade. That is a script. And now the Most High is like, all right, that's it. So the new world order, or the new order of things, is just like a new script. It's just things playing out divinely. So this shit is really magnificent. It's like a miracle. It's a miracle that a lot of us has even got out of the shit that was sent to destroy us. I knew you before you was in the womb, when you were formed in the belly of your mother. What? Remember that. I don't know what script that is. Remember that. Look that up. I formed you. I knew you. Formed you in the belly of your mother. And when you was in the womb of your mother, how the fuck can anybody come tell me who the fuck I am when that specifically the divine tell me, I knew you. I formed you in the belly of your mother. I knew what your life was going to be. So how am I surprised with what the fuck is unfolding? Why am I surprised? And even that surprise, why not wouldn't you want to live in your integrity and your truth? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? I be seeing the energy of these people in these bodies, and you know, whether they're pastors, even behind the scenes, even the people that the spiritual community, the practitioners and all them motherfuckers. I be sitting back, people reading, doing all this other shit. I'm like, wow, you literally trying to tap into this person's energy, tap into their Akasha records, tap into their whoever it is. You think that you're just gonna set up a little detour and delay, and you haven't stopped nothing. You haven't stopped shit. It's almost like you're speeding it up. That's all you did. That's what I want a lot of you to realize, even in the spiritual community. Everything you felt was kept from you was only going to be revealed in due timing. It's almost like having goggles on, but then once you take them over, you're like, whoa. When you come into your spirituality or remembering certain stuff, it's almost like the blindness of, in the word, how it says, I look at that metaphorically speaking, where, you know, a certain being was sent to, made so that the blind can see again. I look at that spiritually. Because when you're talking about a mass awakening or awareness, and I see where the awake, because awake is like a funeral, but it's almost like the waking of the dead, the rising out of the awakening. So with that, it's like when you're talking about someone, you know, the veil being lifted, that's coming out of a slumber. That's coming out of, you know, your ancestors being dormant. That's coming out of the illusion of people having you to believe that they basically have been handing you this script. This is who you are. Everyone's been telling you who you are. So how the fuck are you so bothered by me being who I am? Why not should I speak my truth? I was telling my partner, I said, when you see the fact of darker people just in this country, what has happened overall, and the manipulation in the whole perspective on keeping them, certain people in certain demographics, to keep certain people from evolving or even coming into this awareness, how the fuck are you gonna tell me not to be angry? How the fuck are you gonna tell me not to have emotions when that's a part of this human experience? How the fuck are you or anybody gonna tell me why I should not speak, why I should not walk in my authority, why I should not be me? When not only I've been lied to, but the people who I came through have lied to themselves. So I inherit that. So now that I banish that shit and now I'm speaking my truth, why not? Why does it bother you so much? For some of you that don't even realize that you have this hatred amongst you, Why is it bother you so much? Even darker people, why does it bother you so much to see other people successful in whatever things that they do? Why does it bother you? Do you ever ask yourself, why the fuck do you feel that way towards whomever it is? Why do you think that create your community? Why do you think that there are not going to be consequences behind what you put out? And for you to tell me, for anybody to come express to me why I shouldn't do that, why not? Who gonna stop me? Why not? Why not? And the beauty of all this shit, this ain't, I had to tell someone, this ain't the fucking 16, 1800, this ain't the 1950s and 60s and 70s. The magic and the power that it has returned and returning, this ain't that. This ain't that. I don't think a lot of you realize in the spiritual community when it comes to even darker shaded people and so much, a lot of your power is returning to those who not only manipulated some of you, but also the fact that you'll be able to see exactly what they done, how they did it, and realize what it ain't working no more. A lot of you don't even realize, like, as even a collective representing the darkness, like, because that's the origins of shit, you will realize how much they play their hand in even manipulation, even through magic, even through everything. So who taught who what shit? You so-called natives, none of you are excluded either. No one is excluded either. No one is excluded. When you have shaken the hands and signed over shit, that energy still, that shit ain't done with either. You so-called natives, you want to call yourself Indians, all these false fucking identities. When you look at the identity, the entity, all this false fucking shit that y'all have created just to live by and get by, you are not exempt either. Because a lot of your ancestors was just as dark as my fucking hair or even closer. I say in gratitude to the chiefess, the women who gave birth to the chiefs. Chief Sitting Bull. I say, man, y'all don't even realize, boy, y'all sit over there on some of y'all on these fucking reserves, knowing who was there before y'all, knowing that there's pictures of some of y'all ancestors agreeing, shaking fucking hands and agreeing with certain people. How the fuck you think they learned? And how you think they put some of y'all right there? And even in some of y'all still, whether y'all want to call these chiefs or $5 Indians or whatever the fuck you want to call it, who have built these casinos only to even keep people of even a darker shade who they know their ancestors to be. And for them to even act like y'all don't even want people that are darker to even be a part of that, and that's where the fuck y'all came from, your karma is coming too. It's all of you. I don't care what religion you're a part of. Groups who just simply want to you want people to bow before you or think that they got to be a part of this for someone to subscribe. Who? I know the energy I carry. I don't need to call no names out because you know who you are. You watch me. A lot of you do. When the moment presents itself, you know where I'm at. You know how to reach me. A lot of you don't realize that for some of you, you are the karma. I don't think y'all know how deep this shit is. This is where I wanted to get to. Imagine as much as people wanted to run away and be so passive aggressive, no matter their shade, wanted to get away from the very thing that was a solution to their problem. For someone to say that the way they're living is a problem, like people in certain demographics is a problem. This is why we built this. This is why we created this. So now when your problems get out of hand and you can't live amongst each other, I just wonder who the fuck you gonna come to, which has always been the same. And it's funny because even through this shift, this is where The miscommunication, the confusion, and the manipulation has started. I don't realize that shit. There were chiefs, there were chiefesses, there were women, there was a lot of people who abused their power and to obtain the false empowerment. To attain the false empowerment, this is exactly why, if you want to use the term, sold their people out, or even just didn't care how much they would put so many people in captivity just by not being honest and authentic, because of either the fear of being unalive, or because of the fear of them not knowing, or how their lineages would progress, and so many things, only for it to come full circle. So yeah, my message is to you so-called chiefs. Your karma, you know who your karma is with. You know who you're supposed to balance it out with. You know who you're supposed to donate to. You know who you're supposed to balance shit out with, spiritually and into the physical. That's why this shit ain't about color, y'all. People know exactly what their lineage has done. Their bloodlines, they know exactly what has been done. And they know exactly who and what they've done it to. So imagine wanting to be away from something to where you tip the scale this far, so much so that you can't even get the motherfucker back up on your own. The only way is that you have to reach out for the support to bring that shit back in balance. Imagine that. Imagine me believing that I was supposed to accept this narrative of, oh, this is what darker man, or this is what a man, and this is what da is supposed to be, and to play into that bullshit ass scripted narrative, and to see as if I not see exactly what those men who have subscribed to, whether they're athletes, whether they're entertainers, whatever the fuck they do, whether they're in certain demographics in certain communities. Imagine me subscribing to that and not seeing the energy play out as if there's a solution to that, as if they're still not looping through the same shit. I say to Malcolm X, Brother Shabazz, y'all keep thinking that people energy don't live on. You know exactly what's happening right now. Entertainers select all their time is up. The people behind them, their time is up. It's karmic justice, divine justice at play. Like I said, for the people who have almost signed over things physically, there is a spiritual consequence and a judgment to that. So be it. As above, so below. As within, so without. And the very thing that they wanted to keep away, have y'all believing like this is only the people that can sing, this is only the people who can entertain, this is only people who have this is only people who have that, these are the only people who are supposed to have this part of the land, when most of the fucking US and this country is vacant. How the fuck are you dealing with homelessness? Don't be surprised. All these things will be balanced out. The corporations and all these things that almost like, it wasn't so much of the oppression, it was to keep them in a suppressing the same shit, the same emotion and memories, to believing that this is all there is. That's the energy, y'all. Now that shit is gonna implode on itself. It already has. Where you gonna have certain people that didn't even realize, like, oh my God, I didn't know what's gonna happen. Listen, everything that has happened is divine intervention. There will be a divine intervention at play. Some of you have the responsibility. Some of you had a responsibility, whether it's your land, your property, your monetary, all of that shit. You can't put out something and think you obtained something, and there's not going to be an ending to that, or having to evolve through that and from that. Who do you think you are? Who do you believe who you are? A lot of y'all don't realize, a lot of these folk think that they're bigger than the Most High, the Creator. Imagine creating systems to not only oppress and suppress the women in itself, to attack their anatomy, their autonomy, and so forth. Most likely on an energetic level to harvest their energy, but also to make sure that they are more masculine in logic rather than more emotional, or make sure that they're hyper emotional, hypersensitive, but mostly in a masculine way, only for that shit to backfire so they can listen more to their intuition. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine you thinking that you're getting ahead as people of a lighter shade in a certain country, and you've been fooled, and now all of a sudden the very systems that were created to keep certain people, especially darker women, preying on them and all that, right? Only for you now to see your corporations, your business to crumble in on itself because you're tired, or that energy you created on is now haunting you. Imagine that. Imagine you don't realize that the fucking land that all of you are on carries the blood, the sweat, the tears, the spirits, the energy, the forces, only for that shit to rise. And then even in a negative aspect, it's going to rise in ways that it's not even good or bad. It's the energy that happens here. So when I say removing yourself for divine protection or being wherever it is, so be it. Because those energies are not so much happy. They are being almost, when you release something, that's not good because you're releasing something. No, they are being let go purposefully. They are being liberated. All energies on this earth, in this, in from the layers through eons, spiritually, I command that my ancestors who did not have the opportunity to rise in the physical, that their spiritual energy rise up into sovereignty and to shake this fucking nation and to shake this country and to shake all the countries around, so that people can remember who it is and why it is we are here as humanity. Because y'all don't think that when you look at the energy of the USA, matriarchally speaking, the energy that the women have went through here shall be a force that you have never seen before. And that shall happen not only through the earth, that shall happen through um through the weather, through the climate, and so forth. Everything shall be restored. That shall happen. And it shall come to pass. As above, so below. As within, so without. The very things that have happened in the concentration camps that y'all call the hoods, when you concentrate on something, when you focus, and you put your attention there, and you study them, and you take them to your medical facilities where it's a laboratory, where you have purposely taking ovaries, remove things that was supposed to be there, remove things from the natural order of things. You think, for y'all to assume, some of you women, especially, some of you that are darker, who sat back and didn't say nothing because you know, for your job's sake, or some of you women that are lighter shade that know exactly what you've been doing, if you think that there aren't spiritual justice and consequences to that shit, watch as these ancestors rise spiritually. They already are here through the energy, through everything. If you believe that there aren't things that are going to be balanced out in the energy of the women, especially through the matriarchal, through the empires, through the king, through the chiefdoms, through the energy of what has happened here on these lands, on this soil, that you have built your coliseums, that you have built your shit on. If you think for 1 minute you wounded ass men patriarchally, you wounded women, the women who are falsely empowerment, who have tried to behind the scenes keep this illusion of supremacy or superiority, the divine, the Most High, is going to show you who's always been in charge. The divine mother and father will show you. Will discipline you, so be it. So be it. So be it. Listen, a messenger, just as a warning. No one can say they didn't get it. If y'all think for 1 minute that every time I ground myself, every time people who know, and you want me to forget. See, that's the thing about suppressed emotions, suppressed memories. How dare I forget? How dare you forget? How dare you forget what has happened? Who does that say you are? How are you of integrity? How are you have businesses and shit that you created? How do you say that's integrity? How dare you in the physical write this shit out and think there isn't spiritual justice to that shit? Think that there isn't karma coming. That's all I be sitting back and seeing when I be hearing about shit happening in these places. When I be seeing how, oh man, this person has transitioned. Oh, that person, all of a sudden this happened, or this person, there's no accidents in the universe. That's divine intervention. So for one, as you laughed, you kicked people while they were down. As you just assumed that they were never progressing, but baby girl, baby boy, you all that's watching, in the spirit, all things have been noted. Everything universally, everything energetically has been written. Everything has been accounted for. Every tear that has happened here in these countries, on this soil, every innocent soul, every child, that energy is here. And what's returning is being restored right now. That's what we're conjuring up. That's what's been conjuring up in the ethers, in the physical plane right now. That's what's being conjuring up. That's what's being restored. Imagine thinking that you don't dabble in some shit and you can throw some shit to somebody, only for them and their ancestors to be sitting there in the spirit or just sitting there watching. How dare could you think that you can use some shit on somebody or anybody when their lineage in itself created it, or the origins of it, the roots of it comes from them? Y'all unbelievable, man. And some of you so ignorant that of darker shade, how dare you think you use some shit to even think that collectively that shit was gonna play out for so long? And then think that there were gonna be divine intervention. You knew of a coming of something and someone and of people that you knew that shit was not going to happen. And the more and more as this continues to backfire, now the scales are being balanced. And everything is being restored to its rightful place. Everything shall be replaced and restored. Everything uh, that was flipped on its side shall be upright. No stone will go uncovered or unturned. And the stone for you, the stone that the building refused will always be the head cornerstone. Peace and blessings.